Sasa niko like I used to call like a lot. Jioni napiga simu, ndio asubuhi napiga simu nikuko na mtext, lakini sio nishablokiwa, but anani block na mtext kwa normal text. Guy, let me take a sip, guys. Let me take a sip. Hi guys. Abu. Hi guys. Hi guys, how was your day? How are you today? Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to Esther-ish podcast, where we are turning wounds into wisdom. Mko fiti? Mimi niko chonjo. Let me take a sip. Mko fiti? Mimi niko fiti. So today, as you can see, sina kitabu. Today we're just talking about life. Today, as you can see, I do not have a book. We're just talking. I have my phone and my lippy, and that's it. Yeah. Hi guys, how have you been since the last time you saw me? Since the last time you saw this beauty? I'm kwaje, lakini hope mko fiti. Please follow Esther-ish podcast on Instagram and my personal handle Ndizoizi hapa. Thank you so much for the love that you are showing Esther-ish podcast, guys. So far to got 57 subscribers. Nyamji jokes. Hey, thank you so much, guys. I wish I could have had the 57 of you in 57 different ways. Thank you so much for the views. Hey, may God bless you. And in case you're watching now, just subscribe. Please hit that button. Yeah, let's get started. Today we're talking about how I came up with the name Esther-ish podcast. Last week when I was last week was the when I started. During the first day niliwaambianga I had a podcast kitambo, alafu nikacha ku podcast, alafu nikasema for 6 weeks nitakuwa tunafanya a recap of what I had done. Nakumbuka, so hizo zote zilisha last week. Okay, so this is Esther-ish podcast without Esther-ish podcast ya kitambo, no, without necessarily referring to 15 minutes by one boy. So this is the first episode. Last week tulimaliza, tulikafunga. So the hizo episodes zote zenye nilifanya, I had done them way kitambo during COVID. Yeah, so guys, let me tell you how I came up with the name Esther-ish podcast. Kwa sababu kama kuna swali naulizwa sana ni how I came up with the name Esther-ish podcast. And first of all, before I tell you this story, do you like this name? Do you like the name Esther-ish podcast? Do you like the name e-podcast? Okay, comment down below. Okay, subscribe. Kama uja subscribe, let me take a sip. Today is let me take a sip. Cheers, guys. Lakini tamu. Hi. Sijui kama you have my WhatsApp number. Was it on Thursday? Nilipanga ka story temea when I first experienced like my first heartbreak. Nilianza kusoma vitabu. Guy, mimi mara kede mwere. Nilianza kusoma vitabu. Books after book after book after book. Like we all heal differently, na mimi nilihealingi. I found solace in books. So yeah. And talking about books, there's a copy of Dearest I Set You Free. If you have not come across that book, sababu we all heal differently. Well, mimi sijui venye when you experience heartbreak yako ya kwanza vile wewe heal. Mimi nilianza kusoma vitabu. I will not even lie. And the first book that I ever came across ilikuwa inaitwa I cannot remember the name, but it was about friendships. So mimi, I come from a godly family, Christian godly family. Alafu most of the time when my mom talks to us about relationships, dating, unagichiana shinanga kisema you should date for marriage. So me in my head, when I was getting into that relationship, I knew this is the one. I knew you. It must be him. And my cue, this was my first boyfriend. Achana na wale wa high school, after high school you understand, so unaanza kuwa sober by the relationships zinaendanga hivi, this should be done, this not, you get, he was my first love, a lot even live. Alafu tena after 6 months nilifanywa ile kitu but it was a long distance relationship, so somehow my heart grew fond the fact that he was not you get, we are not together, but if there is one thing that tests your relationship ni distance. Mimi nilikuwa napenda kijana, imagine he was in another county huko na mimi nilikuwa Nairobi, but every time I'll come across a guy nilikuwa nasema me I have a boyfriend, imagine, na ako huko mimi niko huku. But yeye huko akafanya the most, nikaachwa. Mimi hata sikuanga najua niliachwa, nilionanga tu text ati hey please stop texting me. Guy, najua hata sikuwa kwetu, nilikuwa kwa auntie yangu nilikuwa Kiambu. Nikasikia tu stop, I imagine that is hey stop texting me, alafu anasema I do not want to break your heart, stop texting me. Nikasema okay, of course I had to call. Unajua jioni bado napiga simu like hebu kwanza nataka ku make sure kama ni kweli umeniacha. Sasa niko like I used to call like a lot. Jioni napiga simu, ndio asubuhi napiga simu, niko huko na mtext, lakini sio nishablokiwa, but anani block na mtext kwa normal text. Guy, let me take a sip guys. Let me take a sip. Sasa hivyo ndio niliachwa. Mimi niko ngatu napiga simu ati let me text G, ati let me text nione kama ameniacha. So ameni block WhatsApp, but niko ngana text normal text like ku make sure ameniacha, like ni confirm tu. Man, I'll cry. Hey, but anyways, ni sawa. It got to a point nikajambia baby, if there is something I like about myself, mi wanajipata kwa back a lot sana. Baby, if I start something alafu end down the drain, najambia kesho ni siku najua itawaka, of which kesho ni siku najua itawaka, of course. So I psych myself up a lot. Like mimi najanga Veronica, I'm my own biggest support system. I'm my own support system. Me not lie. In as much as niko na friends, niko na family, mimi najanga all you got Vero is you. I have my back. Like hey, I'm here for me. You get, so nikaanza hapo kujichocha nini. Kidogo nikasema see must, if the guy has decided to leave, there is a future for me. Kwani yeye peke yake ndio alikuwa, siku na watu wengi. Kwani mtu mmoja atafanya niache kupendwa? Si aende. Hivyo ndio nilijichocha. But at that time nilikuwa nafanya hizi jobs za promo. Sijui kama vile unaingia kwa super, unaona msichana anakuambia sijui unaona hii product, nilikuwa nafanya job ya promo. Hata tulimeeting in line, mimi nikifanya job ya promo. So hata tukiachana bado nilikuwa kwa job ya promo. Alafu niko nanga best yangu amepost hiyo kitabu ya friendships. Unajua venye mtu akimaliza kusoma alafu unaweka ka screenshot hiyo cover. So that is exactly what he did. Akapost, mimi nikamwambia soon to me book. I started reading that book and it spoke to me by the way, because in my head and in my heart, mimi nilikuwa najua I did not do anything. Like maybe if the guy lost interest in me, that was his own problem. Initially I was like mimi ndio niko at fault. Just severally he had told me so come place yenye niko nikutumia fare. Mimi kwanza hata siku ati anitumie ati nene fare yangu atanirudishia. Bro, ulisikia wapi hiyo? So but me in my head and in my heart I knew my conscience was so right. Like sikuanga nasema ati it was my fault that this relationship did not work out. Me knew mimi sina shida, yeye ndio alikuwa na makosa. Alafu tena, so I started reading that book and I was like, in fact you are not wrong, you are so okay. When you only react, you calling him sijui a pic, you texting him one kama ni kweli amekublock, it was so okay because I was healing, and healing is a process. You get, healing takes time. So nikachanga like it got to a point baka nikacha kumtext, nikacha, alafu he started texting me. Story will come to that. So I started reading this book. Alafu tena the author alikuwa anasema one of the ways you could one of the ways that you could heal from a breakup is keep yourself busy. Like read books, do constructive things, kwa sababu hizo ni times zenye nilikuwa so tested. Like plus first of all I'm so preserved. There are things that I cannot do because everybody is doing, and I cannot do for the sake of love. And if you're a guy, like there are rules that I cannot bend to accommodate some other rules that I do not feel comfortable. You get, so nikaanza kusema first of all siwezi anza kutumia shash na hizo vitu zote kwa sababu ndio ni fit in, kwa sababu I'm so sure niliachwa kwa sababu ya such a girl. But man, missy, like I'm not into this drugs and pombe and party. me, they do not speak to me. Na mtu mwenye like aliniacha jua mtu wako hivyo, na every time tukiongea niko naambia mimi si mtu wa pombe and I do not find like joy in alcoholism and all that. So if you love me, unanipenda tu hivi vile niko. I might be having a boring personality, but let me tell you one thing about me. If you get to know me at a personal level, I'm so interesting. Yeah, so nikaanza kusoma hiyo book nini nikamaliza. Alafu one of the books that again I read ilikuwa a lot of Maya Angelou books. Alafu tena when I was reading all these feminism books, I came across the book of Esther. Ndio nikasema, by the way, I've never heard of a woman who was herself like from a godly way, you get. Like I know the story of Queen Esther kuisikia from the stories zenye tulikuwa tunaambiwa tukiwa wadogo, Bible, what is it called, Bible nursery ama Sunday school. Yeah, Sunday school. So I knew those stories, but I've never like read them. Mimi mwenyewe sijui like soma alafu ni internalize from my own perspective. And I will read a lot of Maya Angelou book, but niko like, in as much as these books are keeping me busy and that they are distracting my thoughts, nikasema let me just hear from a godly woman how being yourself, and if being yourself really will hinder a man from loving you, you get. Plus at that time I was still growing up. I was on my early 20s. Well, maybe maybe nilikuwa nimehit, I'd just hit 20 or I was 19. They cannot. Yeah, I was 20. Yeah, I was 20. Plus at that time I was still finding myself, but unajua tunamwanga mtoto mleavo ndivyo kwavyo. From the way I've been brought up, like there are things that you do not lose for the sake of age, or rather because of the world. So me being myself was one of them, and to simplicity, like this is who I am, this is what I have to offer, well, and much more of course, but this is just me, you get. So nikaanza kusoma like hizo books and all that, and then I came across, I told myself, let me read, because we know the story of Ruth. For Catholics, I think we read Naomi. Is it also in the other Bible? Yeah, I think so, Naomi. Alafu we know the story of Tobit and how they met, and how Tobit met Sarah and they became an item. So nikaanza kusema, well, after reading all these books, nikasema let me hear from like a godly perspective how if being yourself, if being simple, if loving yourself a little bit too much is actually a block from you getting a person, you get. So one of the stories that we all know about love in the Bible is the story of Queen Esther, and of course I read that book of Queen Esther, and let me tell you Maina, mpaka nikajiambia hivi nikasema, in as much as that guy did not see anything good in me, still the fact that I kept my morals and I kept my head high, that I'm not going to tolerate some other things, considering that I'm still a young girl, I'm still growing, I'm finding myself in this world. So the fact that he rejected me, of course it made a huge impact, because I want to be loved. I mean, I cannot survive by myself, but at the same time I expected it to last long, but it didn't. So when I read the book of Queen Esther, I'm like, this girl got married to the king. She had all the freedom, all the will to ditch her background, to ditch her people, but she did not. Yeah, alienda tu hapo akasema, in as much as I'm a queen right now, in as much as right now I've been betrothed to a king, I cannot forget my identity. Like, I'm queen, in as much well, she was not Queen Esther at that time, she was Esther. She said she cannot forget her people. When her people were at the verge of being swiped out, she stood with her people. So I'm like, so well, in my case, my people is my morals, you get. My people is my identity, my people is my personality. So I told myself, whoever will ever love me will love me for who I am. So when I was reading the book of Queen Esther, I told myself I like to be an Esther of my time, you get. Yeah, so mpaka waleo napanga imagine till date nikaekanga kaposta hapo, kaposta like sticky notes, nikaeka hapo kwa book of Esther. Nikasema if I'd ever come back to Queen Esther again, to this story, this post will remind me of the covenant that I made at that particular time, that I like to be an Esther of my time. So alafu tena all this happened when I was in that thing of dating. Nilikuanganisha cha podcast, but my Instagram vero._wamboi apparently bado iko na link ya my that other channel juu nilikuwa na post YouTube, alafu another app called Spreaker. Let me take a sip guys, hata nimesahau niko na juice. Nimekuja hivi nikakumbuka wakurugenzi. But anywho's, what was I saying? Yeah, so nikasema hiyo poster mpaka waliko hapo, like I want to be an Esther of my time. Alafu tena of course life went on and on and on. Alafu tena nikakaa hivi nikajiambia, no, let me get back into podcasting kwa sababu one thing about your dreams, if your heart is somewhere, that is exactly where your treasure is. Where your heart is, that is exactly where your treasure is. And let me tell you one thing, 10 minutes kongana podcast kwa I have a book. Well, achana na hii book yenye niko nayo like nimejot down vitu imeandikwa this is my story. I have another notebook niko naandika every time quoted, like if I come across something I was like this I could tell to my people kwa podcast. So niko naandika, imagine from January niko naandika nasema one day I'll get back into podcasting, one day I'll get back into podcasting. Man, nilikuwa nafikiria tu vile I'll get back to it, but I did not have the avenue, the channel and the means of getting back into podcasting. So yeah, nikaanza kujot down everything, alafu nikajiambia so late last year, no, early this year, around January. So I was like, Vero, if you ever get back to podcasting, what will the name be? I cannot continue like 15 minutes by Wambui or Vero's podcast. I felt like that was common. I felt like that's very common, and hapo hakuna creativity. Plus, in as much as it is my story, there is nothing like detail, there is nothing fascinating about it again. So I do not know, one time nilikuwa tuna peruse my Bible, alafu I came across that poster again. Imagine, I'd written there, Queen Esther, I like to be an Esther of my time. And then I'm like, so Vero, you like to be an Esther-ish. So niko like, yeah, Esther-ish could be a name. And from that time, Nika settled to for Esther-ish. So basically, this podcast is to somebody who is, my audience of Esther-ish podcast is people who do not want to lose their identity. You want to remain as simple as you could. You just want your personality to speak for you. You have nothing extraordinary. All you have is yourself. So if you're looking for the right idea, if you have an identity but you do not know how to lay your identity out, or rather if you already have an identity but you feel like you're sabotaging your identity, but you're trying to be yourself at the same time you're consuming the worldly vitu za dunia zinaku engulf. You're really trying to be yourself, but again you cannot. Let me tell you one thing, simplicity is the mother of humility. So simplicity is your identity. So basically, if you're an Esther-ish podcaster, if you are an podcaster, simplicity is your identity. Simplicity is my identity. Right now, like I'm journeying with you from scratch. I've got 57 subscribers. There was a point I was at 0. Nikaenda kwa 10, 14, 15, sasa niko 57. Man, I do not take it for granted. This is growth. You're seeing me from scratch. Time will come to tutakuwa tuna receive awards by the grace of God, and of course you will be part of my journey because you have decided to journey with this poor girl who has decided to be herself. So just like Queen Esther, just like Queen Esther, she, in as much as she went to grace, she did not forget the grass where she came from. So likewise, in as much as where we will go, where God will take us, we will not forget where we have come from, because at the same time simplicity is our identity. So I was like, if Queen Esther did not forget her identity when she became a queen, yeah, like simplicity spoke for her, and the favor of God was ever before her. So I was like, why can't we just do this? Like, why can't we just normalize being simple and being true to ourselves, in as much as we are here doing content creation and all that? So nikasema, Esther-ish. And I remembered I'd said I like to be an Esther of my time, and I told myself, so if you're getting back to podcasting, we already have a name, Esther-ish podcast. That's it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed my story. And if at all you like to be part of Esther-ish podcast, whether you like to be my guest or you have a story to tell and to share, please do not hesitate to DM me. Kwa hizi, do not hesitate to DM me on my Instagram or Esther-ish Instagram. And if at all you want something, like to share something but utaki kwa camera, still you can send me a text, you can send me a letter, you can send me anything, at a voice note on WhatsApp. It's so okay and it's allowed. Yeah, until next time, do have yourselves a lovely week. Bye guys. Esther ish to the moon and back.